This video we are looking at the NFL picks for week number 5. The first kind of midweek look at the week that we have on hand. We have 12 games this week. A couple of them right now have some rain concerns, so hopefully that clears up by Sunday. But let's get started. As always, appreciate it with a like on the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. You can follow me on Twitter. It's at the DFS Process. And if you wanted to join, you can visit the website. Links in the description below. So let's get started at quarterback. As always, we can take a look at the totals before we get into any picks. Right now, the Ravens and Chiefs have double-digit favorites, plus 30-point implied totals against two pretty poor defenses, especially the Bengals defense for the Ravens. Have the Cowboys continue to pile on the points. They look good again this week against the Giants. You have the Texans. That game is going to be pretty interesting. The Texans almost had that comeback last week. Then they called that Will Fuller touchdown incomplete in the end zone, which sucked because it had Fuller and Watson pairing. That would have been 2 touchdowns for Fuller. But just couldn't hang on, even though it looked like he kind of did. But then we have the 49ers. See if they get their quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, back. I think the Falcons-Panthers game is going to be an interesting stack a bit. Especially if Julio is out, then get more of a condensed target receiving core for Matt Ryan. And then, you kind of got some poor teams that you don't want to target too much. But right now, I think I like the Panthers a lot. Their price tags on DraftKings are really nice, especially like at quarterback and running back, and like Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore. But at quarterback at the top, if you wanted to pay up for Lamar Jackson or Mahomes, you can. The double-digit favorites is a little bit scary because they could easily be up by like multiple touchdowns in the second half, and then they just decide to run the ball heavy. So that's always a concern, especially if you're paying up at quarterback. I think I would much rather go to Josh Allen this week at 75 in a much closer game, probably against two really good teams. I think both teams are undefeated, the Bills and the Titans. And that should be a close game. And then you could go to Prescott, who's 7,400, continues to get it done every week because his defense is so garbage. I'm not that interested in Kyler Murray this week. I like the other options above him. I like Deshaun Watson below him. Kind of got it going in the second half. Got that 300-yard bonus exactly on the number. Hasn't really done much with his legs, but I expect him to once again have a good week this week against the Jags' terrible defense. So play Deshaun Watson if you want this week. You could play Gardner Minshew on the other side at 6,200. You could play Matt Ryan at home against Carolina. Then you have some cheap options like a Burrow, even though the matchup is really scary. You have Teddy Bridgewater, who I like quite a bit at 59. There's not a ton of quarterbacks that jump off the page. I think Bridgewater's price tag definitely makes him interesting. At only 5,900 against this Atlanta defense that has given up 30-plus points to every single team that they faced so far this season. If you look at the numbers, if I can just give you the exact number, pull up their points per game allowed and some of the production that they've allowed. It started off giving up 43 to Aaron Rodgers, or they gave up 38 to the Seahawks in week 1, gave up 40 to the Cowboys, 30 to the Chicago Bears, and 30 to the Packers last week. Now they're facing Teddy Bridgewater, who's coming off of his best game of the season against a decent Cardinals defense. Gets a much better matchup here. He's been using his legs a bit more the last couple weeks, especially last week with that long touchdown run. And he's been pretty efficient. He's been safe with the football. This game could be high scoring, so we could see him throw the ball a lot, like throw for about 40 times. So I like Teddy Bridgewater a lot. Just his price tag makes him a really solid, safe play for cash, and his running ability at times gives him that GPP upside. So below him, I'm not that interested. Like Baker has a really tough matchup. Wentz has a tough matchup with that banged up offensive line. He could be in for a tough one for Wentz. Fitzpatrick, not playing him against that 49ers defense either. So Bridgewater is the best option below 6,000. Moving on to running back, you have Clyde Edwards-Helaire at 68, who looks really nice in that really good positive game script, being a heavy favorite at home. Should get like 20 touches again. Maybe he could get 20 carries on the ground this week. So right now he looks like a really good option. You have Ezekiel Elliott at 7,800. This could be the week that Elliott breaks out. He has just been he's been fine in terms of his scores. He hasn't had a tournament breaking week or a GPP breaking slate yet. He's not been getting a ton of carries the last 2 weeks because they've been trailing by so much. This is like the complete opposite. Do not expect them to be trailing for 1 second in this game against the Giants. So they should use Elliott a lot more. Probably can break 100 yards on the ground pretty easily this week. So he's also a really viable option. He's probably the top option this week at running back. Right now I like Edwards-Helaire just based on the price tag, how much I can fit in. And then Kareem Hunt, he would be like a really strong play if we knew that he was going to get all the work at running back, because he did not, even when Chubb went out, he didn't even get the most carries on the team. They had Dearness Johnson getting 13 carries. Both guys looked really good on the ground, so don't know who they will rely on. I think they'll rely on Kareem Hunt near the goal line, but I don't think it's going to be like a 70-30 split. We could be looking at a 60-40 split, so that's always concerning, especially when the matchup is tough. So for that reason, I'd rather go to Edwards-Helaire. I'd rather go to James Conner at 69. I'd rather go down to Mike Davis, who I like a lot at 6,400 against this Falcons defense. They are bad against the pass, especially. They can give it up on the ground too, and Mike Davis is a do-it-all running back. He doesn't just run. He gets carries. He gets receptions out of the backfield. He's in there in the goal line situations. Could have had a couple touchdowns last week with their scoring 4 of them. Had a couple of chances and at the goal line, but the offense went a different way. But he's looked really good. He's been efficient. 5.3 yards per rush last week, and now he gets a good matchup, and he also will get like 6 to 10 targets out of the backfield, which is more than you can ask for at 6,400. So really like Mike Davis. And then if you wanted to do a complete Panther stack, you have Robbie Anderson, who is below 6K, although he's been playing great. Everybody's been playing DJ Moore. Anderson continues to be like the second option that people look to, but he's been the number one option for the team. He has already 28 catches for 377 yards, averaging 95 yards per game through the first 4 games. 5,900, you get Robbie Anderson, Bridgewater, and Mike Davis, and you're not even breaking the bank for any of the 3. So I think that stack looks really good this week against the Falcons. If the production comes from them, it's going to come from these guys. So yeah, I like how that looks. Other guys at wide receiver, Hopkins, you could play him if you want. I'd rather go, I think I'm going in the mid-range a bit. I'll go cheaper at wide receiver this week. Ridley looks fine. He had his offer, which is pretty sad because Julio missed the entire second half. But the matchup is better. It's fine this week against Panthers defense. Cooper looks okay. He's expensive though, so I don't know if I'll get to him. Diggs looks great at 7,000, but you know who looks better than Diggs is John Brown, his teammate, who's only $4,800. You're getting 2 big play wide receiver threats between John Brown and Stephon Diggs. Brown came back last week, 4 catches, 42 yards. Almost had that touchdown, got called just shy of that touchdown. So that would have helped him a lot, but he's been playing great. He's been getting the snaps. If you look at the production, he's getting 85% of the snaps last week, so him and Diggs get all the production. And I'd rather go to him than pay $7K for Diggs. So both guys give you a ton of upside. He had 2 big weeks to start off the year, then missed with an injury and then came back. Now he gets a fine matchup against the Titans with the way both of these offenses, especially the Bills, with how good Josh Allen has looked this year. There's going to be so much upside for John Brown because Allen loves to throw deep, and that's Brown's specialty. So John Brown, 4,800. I was pretty surprised when I saw that price tag because I think we're getting a pretty good. Yeah, he was 56, 6K, 57, 51. Now he's below 5K for some reason. So definitely love John Brown at that price point. And then I like Will Fuller at 66. Almost had 2 touchdowns last week. Probably should have had 2 touchdowns with the referee. The ball did move a little bit, but he seemed like he had control with that second touchdown. Now he's facing a Jacksonville defense who continues to give it up. The Texans have the 4th highest total so far on the slate. It's going to be a Watson-Fuller stack that gets it done. He's been the most consistent guy on the outside. Watson looks to him, and nearly every time he drops back, just not getting it done with Brandon Cooks. Hasn't looked good. Cobb doesn't give you any upside, really, just a short, intermediate kind of guy. So Will Fuller is a guy at 66 who I would like to get to, and I probably will get to. And then you could definitely run it back with DJ Chark on the other side at 6,500. Do that, leaves you with 3,550 left. Then go with a couple value plays. Somebody like that also looks good. Other wide receivers this week. Beckham probably going to get more ownership this week after his performance last week, but he's facing the best defense so far this season in terms of a statistical standpoint, and the Colts defense is really good. If they get a lot of ownership to the Browns, I will not be on them. You have Terry McLaurin at 61, who gives you tons of upside. Never really gets that much ownership. You have Moore, but I like Robbie Anderson a lot more for pretty obvious reasons. CeeDee Lamb is getting up there now in price tag at 6K. I think you're kind of hoping you're gonna need him to have a really big game. Edelman would be interesting if I knew Cam Newton was back. I'm not going to be playing him with Brian Hoyer or Stidham or whoever they have throwing to him. And then you got some guys that I'm not, like if A.J. Brown is in at 54, that looks really nice just because he has so much upside. Russell Gage, I guess you could look to him if Julio is out. T.Y. Hilton is down to, and the two guys who have been really disappointing this season are T.Y. Hilton and A.J. Green. Both guys have been some of the best fantasy receivers in the past couple years. This year, it just hasn't really been working out. AJ Green is, even though Burrow is throwing for 300 yards every single week, he's not getting it done. And then T.Y. Hilton is not getting it done either. Phillip Rivers relying on his tight ends more. So they're both risky plays. And if I had to go a bit cheaper, I guess it could look at Greg Ward. If Jackson misses again, could look at Zach Pascal, who's been playing better than T.Y. Hilton. Could look at Watkins or Patrick if you need some cheap plays. And that's pretty much it for me. I mean, I don't think I need to go much cheaper than that. So moving on to tight ends. Right now, George Kittle, I saw what he did against the Eagles. He is the best tight end in football, or at least a top 3 tight end. Probably top 2. But Kittle looks fine. Wish Garoppolo is back, but even if he's not in, like, they're going to force feed the ball to Kittle. Like him the most out of Kelsey or Andrews. Then you have Darren Waller at 59, who I like. You have Ertz. You got a lot of good tight end plays that are expensive this week. If you want to go cheap, below 5K, you have Dalton Schultz. Looks fine at 4,800. Hayden Hurst, especially if Julio is out, looks good. Ingram at 46. Could play him too. And then below 4,000, it's not that much that looks that appealing. Could punt with Drew Sample. He could punt with Ian Thomas. Logan Thomas. But those guys are not that interesting just because they don't give you a ton of upside. And that is kind of it. If Akins is in at 3,300, he was on his way to have a really big game. 3 catches, 46 yards, then got out. Had to leave the game with an injury. So 3,300, he looks like the cheapest tight end that I like. But probably go up to like one of these guys right below 5,000, like Schultz, Hurst, Ingram. And then defenses this week, got some cheap defenses like the Dolphins. If Garoppolo misses again this week, I like them at 2,400. You could look at the Panthers defense at 2,400 if Julio's out. You know, we've seen Matt Ryan struggles at times with interceptions. Maybe the Texans defense against the Jaguars, just because they can put some pressure on the quarterback, although they've been giving up a lot of points. And then probably some of the top defenses this week are the Steelers, just because they're going to be able to get so much pressure on Wentz. You have the 49ers defense and the Ravens defense. The Ravens defense at 3,900 against Cincinnati. That looks like pretty cheap. Like this should be the most, or at least like the second most expensive defense. I'd rather play them than the Cardinals or the Rams. And then that's pretty much it. Maybe you could look at the Colts defense just because they're so good and talented at 3,300. But that's it. I'll probably usually like to stick below like 3,400, 3,500 for my defense. I normally don't pay all the way up. So that's it for me. Those are like the 6 guys that I like a lot. Like the Panthers are going to be the team that I like a lot this week. They're too cheap on DraftKings. So that's it for the video for the DK side. We'll jump over to FanDuel now. Alright, over on FanDuel this week, at quarterback, no surprise, Mahomes and Lamar Jackson are leading the way. Then you have Prescott, Josh Allen. Just based on the matchups and like the totals right now, I'd rather go to Josh Allen than any of the top 3 guys. I'd rather go to probably Deshaun Watson below 8,000. Like him quite a bit. And then Bridgewater is only 7,100. So Bridgewater this week is probably the guy for me. I think he's going to have a really good week in the air, and he can run a little bit too. So 71 is like really cheap for Bridgewater against the Falcons, who have been giving it up to everybody. And running back Elliott is 9,000, so that's definitely expensive. Personally, I'd rather go to Edwards-Helaire. I like him. I like Connor at 69. I like Mike Davis at 68. And we'll see if Mostert can come back. That would be a pretty nice play just because he can run a lot. Unlikely to return. So, scratch that. But at running back, the first guy I'll probably start with is like maybe Edwards-Helaire at 7,900. Just because it's a really positive script right now. Them being such a heavy favorite, it's a really good matchup for him to tear up a really bad rush defense. So I like him a lot. And then I like Mike Davis, James Conner, some of those guys right there. Probably Mike Davis at 68. Then wide receivers, we have Ridley at 83, who looks like one of the top options if Julio misses. Could go to Amari, 78. It's a better price tag. You have Will Fuller, who I will go right back to at 66, in a really good spot against the Jaguars. DJ Moore is 66. Then you have Robbie Anderson is cheaper. I'd rather go to Robbie Anderson. 6,200. You have John Brown at 58, so decent price tag for John Brown. I think I'll probably just roll with the Panthers stack on both sides with Anderson, Mike Davis, and Bridgewater, and you can run it back with Calvin Ridley at 83. If you want to, you have 6,350 left right now. The other wide receivers that look solid this week are like DJ Chark to run it back with in the Houston game if you're playing Will Fuller. It's still easy with over 6,000 left at tight end. You can play like Kittle, pay up at tight end this week on FanDuel if you want, because FanDuel you can definitely pay up for a lot more options. And then defense, pay up a bit on FanDuel at defense. Go with like the Steelers at 44, the Cardinals are cheap at 42 against Darnold, so I'd rather go to the Cardinals defense. And then you still have 7,100 left for a flex spot. And then at that flex position, you could play Diggs or Jonathan Taylor, or somebody like that. But on FanDuel right now, the core pieces are going to be, well, for me at least, these are the core pieces. Take out like these 5 right now I think I have in my lineup, and I like them quite a bit. So that's it for the video. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. You can drop a like if you enjoyed, and good luck on Sunday.